welcome. This is Dave Rogers, and I have a special guest today from Johannesburg. Hello, Billy Selekane. How are you?
I'm fine, Roger, Dave. How are you? Long time no see, my brother. Long
It,
time no see
it's
indeed.
been a couple years since I think we've seen each other, yet our
Yes, yeah,
journey goes back, I think, 15 years.
absolutely.
You were speaking, had
Yeah,
just become an author. I remember
yeah,
receiving a copy of your book.
yeah,
I remember this vibe that
yeah,
you have still, and it's
yeah,
grown. And I want to really, for our
absolutely.
listeners today, to hear about a journey that started in probably a situation that many people are going to be in right now or are going to get
Absolutely.
into. So share a little bit
Absolutely.
about yourself, Billy, from perhaps 15 years ago, and then we'll bring it forward to today.
Well, 15 years ago, when we met, I was just getting my grip onto the speaking industry. I had been in the industry for about 4 years or 5 years because 2020 marks my 20th anniversary.
Right.
So at that time when I met you, I was purely an inspirational speaker, speaking and inspiring people from my own personal story. And at that time, that's what just my truth was. I was this guy that came from a very poor society, did not have the best of education, but realized that he could become a better person. And how did he do that? He started consuming inspirational content and starting applying the principles in the books and tapes and videos that I've been watching. And suddenly there was a shift in my life. And that shift got people interested who knew me. They said, but we know you. You were this guy who was really struggling. What happened? So at that time, it was just me sharing that story. And a lot of people saw it as a very powerful hero's journey
Yes.
that could help other people to latch onto it and find their inner strength. So that's what, at that time, that's what was happening in my life.
And the book, again, have you written other books? Are
Yes, I
there,
have. I have actually. Yeah. My first book was From Barefoot to Snakeskin Shoes, which is
right?
basically the hero's journey. And then the second book I wrote, we co-authored it, is called Breaking Through. I wrote one which was supposed to have been, actually this year in May, I'm supposed to have been publishing 2 or 3 books at the same time, but everything has been put on the back burner, I must say. So
Hmm.
I had 3 books. Actually, I had 3 books that were defining my life in a sense. One was a pure inspirational book. The second one was geared for speakers, for speakers. And the third one was a corporate book based on where I have transitioned in the world of speaking, coaching, and facilitation.
Today, would you recommend to people to write a book, to be an author? Is there some benefit that they get from that experience?
Yes, I think more than any other time, uh, this is one of the things, Dave, that has been happening is since we got locked down, everybody went online. There was just a flood, everybody was getting Zoom fatigue. So the beauty about it is in this flood, it's easier for you to rise up as an expert. And the only way to rise up as an expert and an authority, because the word author means authority, you're an authority on a particular subject.
Yes.
So if you can write a book now that can completely separate you from the noise and the crowds, that book will open doors, because a lot of people think you make money by the book. You're not making money by selling the book.
Yeah.
The book in itself creates a opportunity for you to engage at a much higher level.
Beautiful. So again, it's almost like a much more impactful or powerful business card.
Absolutely. It is. I mean, just think about it. If you enter a room and somebody says, here's my business card, and somebody says, oh, by the way, here's my book, who do you think they listen to more? The one that says, here's my book.
And these days with productivity, I know that you're one of these guys who gets so much done. That's always been one of your mottos or logos or reputation, is that give it to Billy, he'll get it done. And it is one of those things about give someone who's really busy a
Yeah.
task and they'll get it done. So
Do it,
what
yes,
would
yeah.
be 1 or 2 productivity tips that you would have for people these days?
Well, one of the things that I say to people, I say, you've got to create a ritual. And what do I mean by that, Dave? I mean, when you wake up in the morning, you have to own a particular amount of hours in the morning. And once you own that, that sets the agenda for the rest of your day. That means you proactively run your life. You're not circumstantial. You are very focused. So that's what I do. I have a strict ritual. The first 2.5 hours in the morning, that's my time. I meditate, I read, I think through and I plan. And I simply say, what are the 3 key things that by the day this day ends, I must have achieved? Simple, 3.
Beautiful.
And the rest of the things I delegate. But I delegate to the right people who've got the right skill and the right time to be able to deliver. Because you can't just delegate, you know. So for me, it's when you create your productivity ritual, and the most critical thing is your first part of the morning. What are the critical things that get you grounded when the day begins? Once you get that right, everything else falls into place.
I love that. I'm picking up 2 more questions from what you've just said. First, is that one of the biggest challenges is for a solopreneur is actually able to delegate effectively. Do you have a tip or 2 on delegating effectively? Because that's the biggest thing about being a solopreneur versus being an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs know how to delegate effectively. Solopreneurs do everything better than everyone and never get much done.
Well, I think one of the things that you as a solopreneur, I usually say to people, you must create what I call a community of practice. Find and associate yourself with a community of people that are good at doing the things that you're not good at doing. So then you create a reciprocal relationships, and you can delegate to them because they can also reciprocally delegate to you. That's what you need to do. And there's 2 ways of doing it. Either you create community, or you go online. I mean, you've got a lot of online platforms which have got amazing people that can do super amazing things at the quickest amount of time and the most cost effective. So you've got to have these things as your toolbox. Either a clearly defined community that you share and the expertise and delegate with, or a very powerful online system that you can tap into when you want to use it.
Beautiful. This idea of, again, Fiverr or Upworks, like, it's a skill to develop. And that's one of my things is that many people aren't willing to have a few failures, but that's one of the big things is that you actually have to have those learning cycles so that you can identify it and correct and pivot and move forward. The other thing I picked up you just said is you're meditating. How long have you been meditating? And again, that must be at the beginning, that must have been a bit of a challenge for you, especially your mind running around so much.
You know, one of the things that I learned about meditation is that your mind is like an animal. If it's not well trained, it runs all over. It's like a little dog. If you have a dog and you don't train your dog when to sit down, when to walk, when to do this kind of things, you will not be able to control it. So your mind is exactly like that. You have to learn to shut it down. You have to learn to say, I'm shutting you down and I'm making you not do anything. And I'm disappearing from your control and I'm getting to a different space. Yes, in the beginning, like you're saying, you know, your mind goes crazy. You start thinking things, whatever. But eventually, when you get it right, it becomes such a powerful tool in your arsenal.
So these days, you're meditating, and have you studied this? Have you created some products around this, or is it something that you've really learned from doing and practicing? And
I've read a lot of books around meditation, you know. And then I then came across a very amazing guy who got it home for me, Dr. Joe Dispenza. When I started reading his stuff and I started watching his videos, then I subscribed to Gaia and I started doing his guide to, you know, step-to-step meditation. Everything for me fell into place. I mean, having worked with him just became an amazing thing.
I think Dr. Joe's had a huge impact, particularly, I believe, in the last 2 years.
Yes, absolutely.
With a lot of people really loving his scientific approach with epigenetics and really talking to the left side of your brain. And then the woo-woo side where you have to let go and throw it to the universe.
Absolutely.
That's great. Now, how about this pet project I have right now is on grief. Would you have some ideas on dealing with grief or loss or sense of failure? I do remember your book, just there was this bounce back effort. Yet these days, as a more elderly statesman and mentor, what advice would you have on grief or failure to bounce back?
Well, I think the first truth that you have to absorb is that it's happening or it happened. That's the first thing. You've got to absorb that truth, that I'm going through this. I can't escape it. I can't outsource it. I can't delegate it. This thing is facing me. So that's the first stage. And I usually then say to people, each time I'm going through a loss, I go through I ask myself 3 different questions. The first question is, can I do something about it? And if the answer is yes, I do something about it. And if the answer is no, I then ask myself the second question, do I know somebody who can help me to deal with this? That's my second question. If the answer is yes, then call this person, and open yourself up to that person. And the third one is, if I don't know anybody who can help me deal with this, do I know somebody who knows somebody who can help me deal with it? So this is a three-phase approach. Yes, do deal with it. If you don't know, So for me, a lot of people don't want to be in the space of acceptance that it is happening. I mean, I'll give an example. We have had 100% of our work canceled, literally, not postponed, canceled. I have a massive office. I've got a digital studio. I've got, production guys. I've got, I've got a staff of about 14, 15. Now, you can either pretend it's not happening or accept what's happening. Ask yourself, and the question I asked, can I do something about it? The answer was yes. And what was I going to do is I was going to sit with everybody and become honest. That's what I did. I called my guys and said, guys, I don't have to tell you. You know what is happening. So how do we deal with it? And by opening yourself to that truth and letting the people who are going to be affected by this truth also be part of finding the solution, it makes it much easier. Because the load is, you're not carrying the load on your own. You have just shared the load, because the load is not yours alone to carry, by the way. It must always be shared with other people. So I think if we go through this space of acceptance, it becomes easy for us not to be the prisoner of the circumstance, but to find a way, again, to be humble enough to say, I don't have the answers, but collectively, as a collective, and collective can be 2, collective can be 3, collective can be 4, that when we think away from the circumstance, almost create like a helicopter view and say, this is what we're going through. Let's just shift and be on top and look back. And as we look back, before we go into a panic of trying to find solutions, let's operate from a very powerful process of gratitude. Because when people are in grief, they forget the gratitude part. Because no matter what you're going through, there's been some beautiful moments in your lives. Very good. So if you can't use those beautiful moments in your life and the beauty that, me and you, Dave, we've been blessed, we've traveled the world. I was talking to a friend of mine and I was saying, I'm in that place where I'm wanting for nothing, quite honestly. And this guy, I said, the things that I've done, if I tell you, you'd fall off your chair. I've had dinner with heads of states. I've coached a president, I've done unbelievable things in my life. So what I'm going through now, based on the beautiful things that I've had in my life, is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. So I think we've got to first accept, but secondly, let our sense of gratitude become our anchor. And once you put in gratitude in grief, the vibration changes. And once the vibration changes, you get into a place of attracting better vibration towards yourself,
Wonderful lessons, wonderful words, wonderful practice. And I think that's the key, is that as we evolve and as we transition from our 50s into our 60s, into our 70s, it becomes even more prevalent.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I've been doing a deep dive on is the concept of ikigai. Yes. The Japanese concept. It's a beautiful concept. And especially when you go and you study a particular part of Japan where that rules supreme, and look at people live up to 80, 100, and they're in this space of beauty, man. And it's amazing. It's just an amazing thing.
So have you started exploring the inner artist?
Yes.
What types of art are you doing right now? Or what type of expressions are you doing?
Well, in my previous life, I used to paint. So I now design, I used to paint, and then I designed the house that I'm living in now. I designed it myself, all those kind of things. So my second phase is I want to move into a minimalism, So I'm playing around with these containers that they used to carry stuff around the world?
Yes.
I'm playing around with designs.
Beautiful.
Container designs to design a very powerful, aesthetically pleasing, but minimalistic living environment. So, that's where
you might do some research into Christchurch, because when they had the earthquake, their city actually collapsed because it was on reclaimed land. And they replaced malls with containers. And some of these containers became this new shops, the new restaurants, the new places for people to stay. And so really fantastic innovation. And the other place I saw a lot of that was in Colombia, in Cali. Again,
Oh,
people were
wow.
very innovative with the containers. And again, it can be a decent type of facility for many different things, including housing.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So that's where my creativity is moving towards now. You know.
That's beautiful. Actually, I wanted to ask you, if you think back from your young days to even today, think actually particularly on your young days, did you have a particular teacher that you really left an imprint on you, or a teacher that was just someone that you reflect on regularly? Could you tell us who it was or who she was? And what were the sort of 3 characteristics of this teacher that you remember most prevalently?
Well, you'll be surprised who that teacher was. That teacher was Bruce Lee.
Ooh,
You know, so I grew up doing martial arts in my teen years, and I started becoming almost like a Bruce Lee historian. I started reading intensely about him, and I mean, one of the things that I learned from him, which a lot of people around me did not have, was discipline. Bruce Lee was very disciplined.
very.
He was absolutely disciplined. And the second thing, he was a reader. He read copious amount of content. So those, you know, and the third thing, so the first thing that I learned from him was he was very disciplined. The second thing I learned from him was he was a good researcher. So he researched a lot of things, physiology. Actually, I was telling somebody that, you know, the bodybuilders and all these Iron Man guys, the kind of stuff that they drink, mix this with that. Bruce Lee designed those things that long ago,
Right.
that long ago, you know. And the third thing that I learned from him was focus. Because there's a statement that he used to say, which was very powerful. He said, "I'm not afraid of a man that practices 10,000 kicks. I'm afraid of a man who practices one kick 10,000 times."
Yes. Very good. Very good. So again, that says a lot about you and the way that you dig into research and you dig
Absolutely.
into discipline. And again,
Yeah.
that's one of the things that as you're talking to young people, and again, part of my research has been into assisting people with different types of mental illness or mental challenges. When I came back to Canada, I was really surprised on how much mental illness has expanded and really become very prevalent in Canada. What would you do or suggest to young people, particularly, to establish that discipline? Because in Canada, for instance, my friend who's a principal at a school, he says that in many ways we're at fault because we're part of what's called the snowplow generation. Is that snowplows, they blow all the snow away. So
Yeah.
as a parent, we're blowing all the snow away so the kids don't even have to learn how to shovel the snow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what would be a couple of ways for you to infuse discipline or invite discipline into someone's life?
Well, I've always said that if we can teach our kids to do the smallest things very well, they'll be able to do the bigger things exceptionally good. Now, the biggest mistakes that guys our age did by moving away the snow is we moved away completely everything. So they have nothing to do. I mean, we've got maids in the house that makes their bed, that takes their washing into the washing machine. So I think we need to go back and start in our families. We need to say, guys, we're going back to basics. If you have a room, that room is your responsibility. You'll make up your bed, you'll clean the room, you'll make sure that your washing is packed properly, you'll take the washing to the washing machine yourself, you'll book time. So if we can teach them to create that discipline around their life at home, it becomes easily transferable onto the other things out of life. But if there's no discipline at home, we are delusional to think that we can now suddenly make them disciplined. And it's not going to work. You know, I've got a son here. I've got a son. He's 8 years old. I've begun to drill him on those little things. He knows. You know, he goes and get food downstairs. He sits on. Me and him will sit on the table when I'm around. We have dinner together. When we're done, he picks up the dishes, go and put them in the dishwasher. So all these little things. And when I come back from work, I take off my shoes. He picks them up. He packs them nicely, and it's a service that I pay him for. So I'm teaching him to learn to earn money in a proper way. And month end, me and him will sit and have a conversation. So how much money did you make? Okay, now you've made this amount of money. Which one are you saving? Which one are you giving to charity? And which one are you going to use for yourself for fun? And he sits down and he says, you know, Daddy, I want to buy this for my bike. I said, so how much is this in terms? He says, well, you need to work 5 extra days and in this amount of money, not to buy, but to have this amount of money so that you can spend 40% of that money buying that, not 100% of the money. So we need to start having these conversations, and we should not have them punitively, because the problem that we do as parents is because now these guys are going crazy, we want to punish them. No, no, no. We have to sit down with them and create a soft landing. I'll give you an example. I've been having people get me to coach their youngsters. I've started now with a new client, 25 years old. And I charge my normal coaching fee. It's not a favor. But I set the rules quite, I tell the parents, you parents, here are the 5 things you're not going to do for this man. And when I sit with him, I say to him, listen, I'm not your uncle, I'm not your cousin, I'm your coach. It's my way or the highway. So there have to be clear parameters set. And most of the time, he will run home thinking, and then when he gets home, they say, no, we're very sorry. This is how the deal works. You either follow this man and it doesn't happen. But again, we're catching it too late, sadly. But we can reverse it by creating within our homes clearly defined things that they need to become responsible for. Because if they can do that, then things can change.
I love your strategy with your 8-year-old, because that's, again, teaching financial wellness and fitness, discipline, which are, again, so important in wealth creation and also living peacefully and effectively. My challenge to you, though, is when we are talking about people who are 20 years old, 30 years old, 40-year-olds right now who are suffering from different financial challenges, what can we do, or is there something that you can do to get them into the learning mode, into the letting go of all of their old records and put them into the new pathway? Because I've had calls recently from Cambodia and from India. Cambodia hasn't had any air flights since December. Their tourism's wiped out. And so I've had a couple of requests to assist and even send some money. Yet my mind, like yours, would be, what can we do to coach them or guide them or put them on a program to be effective, efficient, to re-engineer themselves? Is there something you might suggest there?
Yeah, well, Dave, this program, it's a personal mastery program. Ooh, you can't see it. It's a personal mastery program. It's called Personal Navigation. It's a personal and wealth mastery program. I wrote this about 13 years ago, and once in a while I would lose confidence in it and not do it, and one day I'll be inspired to do it and whatever. But then about 7 years ago, a CEO of a bank, of a local bank, picked it up. We were flying in his helicopter, and I was just making notes, and he says, wow, that looks interesting. What is it? I said, no, this is my program, man. It drives me crazy. It's a very powerful program, but there are some things that are missing. He said, no, let me read through it. And I gave it to him. I said, no, you can't read it. You must go through it. Then he said, okay, I'm going to book a day with you. Then you're going to take me through this thing. I said, yeah, we can do it in a day. I'll just give you the basics. And he was so impressed with it, he booked that 7,000 of employees should go through the program.
Fantastic.
And when I took those people through this program, I started to pick up some beautiful new things from the people that I was working with. So I rewrote the program, and I've recently launched it. And I promise you, the kind of results I'm getting with it is quite amazing. And that's the only way that we can do is to get these people to a proper personal mastery process. Slowly the stuff, I'm working with a group of 10 executives. It's a 12-month Zoom call every Tuesday. We are on our 5th Zoom call, but the stuff that they've picked up and the transformation that is happening is mind-blowing. So I think this is the time that we have to let people understand that there's no quick fix. There's no golden bullet, that people must humble themselves to follow a process, because this is process work. And if they can be humble enough to understand that this is process work, and if they can be disciplined enough to do the things that we tell them to do, we'll be able to shift the needle.
Beautiful. So again, is that one of your, what passion project are you working on right now for the remainder of the year, or maybe even a longer period? Is there a specific passion project or program that you're working on that's exciting you, yet there might be some challenges?
Actually,
hear about that a little bit for our listeners today.
Actually, this personal mastery program, you know, I always say that all of us, a musician, a painter, a designer, you'll always have. John Lennon had that song Imagine, you know. Michael Jackson had Billie Jean, you know. We'll all have those things. So I believe that this is my thing. I believe that I have come full circle with it. I have now begun to love it and to have faith in it because I see the impact that it has on people. And in addition to the research from Joe Dispenza and other people, which I'm now bolstering, so I'm gonna make this to become the most preeminent personal and wealth mastery program on planet Earth. That's no, and there's no other focus for me now than to get this to become top notch.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So what again, as a coach to coach, so what are 3 things that you're looking to do perhaps in the next month that will take it from where it is today to where it will be in a month? Because again, when you talk about the goal that you have, it's phenomenal. What would be 2 or 3 things that you're doing, and maybe someone might actually reach out and look for ways to support or assist in your adventure?
Yeah. So what I've done is I've reached out to people, and I will do the same with you. I've reached out to people, and I've just sent them the raw course material, and I've sent them some few videos, and I'm just looking for people to say what can change. Because at the moment it is not as digitized as I want it to be. At the moment it's video and text. So I want to create it and make it a digital platform.
Yes.
You know, so I'm speaking to a lot of guys who are digital smart and all these kind of things, because what I want this thing to do, I want it to become a hybrid kind of process where you can do it DIY or you can do it with me. But what's also important is I also want to license people. I want to train other coaches from around the world to become practitioners of this process. So we can create this critical mass of people that are teaching exactly the same thing and sharing results cross-country, cross-function, cross-organization. So that's where it is at the moment.
Fantastic. So that's congratulations. That's has that partially been percolating in the last couple of months, or is it beyond the last couple of months, or has this opportunity?
Actually, what happened is again 2.5 years ago, I decided to actually it was I think 4 years or so, 5 years ago. I decided I'm going to have my own production studio because I was tired of going to conferences. There's a cameraman there, he shoots my video, I can't find him. He says, no, I'm sorry, we're rendering it, we're editing it. I never get the content. I said, that's it. So I then invested in a whole production facility. You know, I had a studio, lights, bells and whistles, everything. And then I slowly started recording videos. You know, I'd come into the office, I'd be inspired. I'll say, okay, guys, for the next 3 hours, I'm just going to be on camera. And then from there, we're going to sit down, watch the video, make notes, reshoot it, re-edit it, write it into a manual. So that's been brewing for some time. And it only became almost like it must really happen now, you know, like actually from November, December, because I spent about 11 days in Nigeria working with about 11,000 entrepreneurs. And I realized that a lot of them were technically smart, but they were life stupid. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they could do the things, design whatever, but they never had their life in order. You know, then I realized, man, I've always had the solution to this. You know? So yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
So Billy, share with our friends today one last sort of element of wisdom that will, again, pack it into a takeaway from this chat. I'm so grateful that you've had the opportunity to share with me today, sharing an update, yet also inspiration on some future projects. How would you like to bring today's session to a close?
Well, I would like to say that what we're going through now, the whole world, you should not let fear overwhelm you. You should understand that we've been given the greatest opportunity to recalibrate, to relook at our essence and our truth away from the noise and away from the sound and give to the world that one singular gift that was only given to you. All of us were given this one gift and we became too busy chasing too many things. But this is the time where you say, this is my thing, this is my gift, and I'm going to do the best that I can to give it to the world in the most purest of form. So this is that time of us getting inside and working from the inside outside.
Well, thank you very much. This is Billy Selekane in Johannesburg, South Africa. Namaste, and thank you so much, Billy.
Namaste, my brother. Thank you very much.